Welcome back to the Gentleman Ultras YouTube channel. I'm Richard Hall as always, and we're going through today's papers, and as you can guess, it's all about the Super League. First of all, Gazzetta dello Sport, the headlines you can see there, stop them. It's basically saying, Euro clash, the wall against the 12 clubs. It says, these champions, where will even see them play? From Draghi to UEFA, the fight against the rebels. It's everyone against this, it seems, from, like you said before, the Prime Minister to UEFA. They need to save the championship, it says here. Ceferin accused the Juve president of, I've never seen such a liar, approves a new Champions League and evaluates exclusion. So could we actually see the likes of Manchester United being kicked out of the Europa League? Could we see the likes of some of these top clubs that are still in there being thrown out? And what for next season? It's gone everywhere through the entirety of the papers today, because in one way it is a shock. It is still people are reeling from this and about what it actually does to football, and I think everyone sort of shares that same opinion that it doesn't seem like the best thing for football in general, despite Perez coming out and trying to argue he's trying to save football because of the money the big clubs had lost. It doesn't really sit well to a lot of fans. We've seen Inter's ultra groups campaign against this and write a letter to Zanetti. There's been Cairo from Torino's come out and said that Agnelli's a Judas and asked Marotta to resign from Inter. There's so much in the papers here about people's opinions. Cassano saying everyone to chuck Inter, Milan, Juve out of the league. So much really. But the sad thing is when you read through all of this, it seems like an inevitability that this is going to happen. And the question is really, I think these big clubs, and this is only a personal opinion, have looked at the things that have started and been, pushed back on, whether it's a change from the European Cup to the Champions League, whether it's a change from the English League to the Premier League, whether they got rid of that association. These things tend to calm down, and this is a big one though. This is a big one, and what can you actually do about it? I mean, here you can see Corriere dello Sport, this one here, going on to say the Super League earthquake, probable consequences in the current tournaments immediately out. That looks as though it's going to be decided on Friday. Very similar dialogue. Does say here though that obviously yesterday Juventus, Inter and Milan all want to remain in Serie A, which would just mean that they would obviously be exiting the Champions League, and that reformed Champions League of 36 teams from 2024 would have a really different look. Just a note here that JP Morgan, the deal's worth $4 billion, which we already knew. But it's a fantastic... this is my favourite, I think. I don't think I really need to translate that one. It's just no. Politics in the world of football have rebelled against this elite European 12 clubs. Quoting here from Klopp from last night that he will leave Liverpool if they continue their participation. It's obviously the league itself is defending it through Perez, as we mentioned before. It looks as though this is something that was really... There's been a lot obviously talked about. This doesn't happen overnight, and I think obviously certainly UEFA have been given guarantees, have been given certain statements here by the sounds of it that they look like they may not go ahead with it or try and... Is it a bargaining tool to try and get a better structured Champions League for the bigger teams? Who knows? But again, it does look as though there's going to be a crunch thing here, because you've got to also think as well, it's easy to say, okay, Milan, Juve, Inter, you're no longer in Serie A. That's it. That's the punishment for this, to make them think. But you've just sold the TV rights to DAZN for 750 million euros. Now, if you're DAZN, you're turning around and saying, well, hold on, that's not the products I bought. I bought a product that was this package. And that starts to go through all the leagues. So there has to be some real thought process behind this, because otherwise it's going to cause absolute chaos. It is damaging for football, I think, in some ways, but at the end of the day, you've also got these big teams who will argue against that and argue that change is inevitable. And like I said before, the sad thing is, it does feel as though there's a sad inevitability that this is going to happen. But again, it dominates the headlines everywhere here. So there's also football going on still. Still talking about Zamaka costing Milan 40 million. They're still going to try and get him. So they're not giving up. Also here, saying Ronaldo's back for the game against Parma. Juve really relying on him. And crisis at Fiorentina before tonight's game against Verona. They're looking to count on Ribery for that, but obviously they're in a very dangerous situation. That's also also backed up in the Corriere dello Sport, who suitably have continued to get involved in that situation. I don't think they wanted written that first headline. I thought they just thought they'd go on. Fiorentina Night of Terror. I've heard about travelling to Verona can be a bit dodgy, but that's something else. They say they're needing points, obviously for safety. Touches on the fact that Mourinho, of course, has been sacked from Tottenham Hotspur as well. Where will he go next? And yeah, it's really, and here just one we've talked about, so it is worth a mention. It is saying Nicola and Belotti are looking to be tied down by Torino, looking to be the pillars of that club for the future. A lot going into that. So after all those rumours about Belotti going away, not something that really disappoints me because I always do like Belotti at Torino, but that's just personal. It could be interesting to see him there. So this is the start. There's going to be so much comes out about this with the clubs and how they react to it, how UEFA react to it. FIFA have obviously, not disowned the 12 clubs as yet. So it's very difficult because understand completely what the fans think about this. It's a complete change. It's it's travesty in a sense, but the argument is that people will still watch this. People will still go to these games. Even when they change it to start playing in China and America, they will still play these games and still watch these games. Commentators who don't like it now will commentate on these games. Writers who don't like it now will write on these games. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that, Cassano, Rio Ferdinand, all of them who've talked about it will commentate on these games because there will be money here. And that's a sad inevitability of it because it's not it's distasteful for many people. Look at all the protests that go on. There are always the brave few that continue, but eventually everyone comes back, and I think they know that. And I think they know that's why they can push this because the product will be slick, it will be... people get used to it, and it will, like I said before, there will be more teams come into it. They'll probably start playing in different countries in the end. Your domestic teams will end up looking like reserve teams because of the money they've got to be able to do that. So it's very difficult, but anyway, we'll see how it pans out. Hopefully I'm wrong completely, but it's ciao for now for me.